So for me right now, I'm wanting to make a few autumn leaves. So I've just found this image on just doing an image search. And I've got this, but what we'll need to do is we'll need to make it a black and white image. So if we come over to Photoshop, or you can use a free software like GIMP, but basically we want to be converting this, this texture into a black and white alpha image. So the way to do that is I'm going to do this from scratch. I'm just going to make a new file in Photoshop. So I'll size that up to something that kind of fits within the frame. You don't need to be too careful about the size of your image either. You can just make like a box or whatever kind of fits with your alpha mask. And I'm going to hit Control U on the keyboard, and that's going to bring up our hue and saturation options inside of Photoshop. We'll then just make it completely white, and from what I'm doing right now, you'll see that it's gone because it's on a white background. But if we go and select to make a new layer, and we make sure that our color selected is black, we can then hit Alt-Delete on our keyboard, and that will fill the layer with a single color. Okay, so now that we're inside of Houdini, we can go ahead and we want to make a new geometry node. So if you hold down Tab on your keyboard, type in the word geo, we'll make a brand new geometry node. I'm going to call this Autumn Leaf. All right, we're going to dive inside of our geometry node, and the first node that we want is we want a trace node, which is basically going to do exactly what we need for this, this leaf. So right now we've got a picture of a circle, and we just want to be navigating to where we have saved our leaf. So I'll go ahead and select my leaf alpha that I've made, my leaf mask. And straight off the bat, you will see that we have our leaf that's completely drawn. But right now it's not a usable mesh. It's basically just one big polygon right now. So we're gonna want to fix that up slightly. First thing we'll do is we will extrude our leaf. So we're gonna hit Tab again to bring up the Tab menu and type in extrude to bring up the extrude option. And from here, we want to bring out the distance to be as thick as you're going to want your leaf. So say I want something like that, but you'll notice that the back face here is missing. So we want to be filling that in. So all we want to do is we just want to output the back option here. Okie dokie. So now that that's done, we're going to use what's called a remesh node. And essentially this is just going to make it a lot easier for us to convert this to polygons that are useful. You'll see that right now, the first thing that comes through is extremely unhelpful. And that's just because we need to be reducing the resolution of this mesh. So for me, I'm gonna make the division side really, really low. And you'll see that we do get a kind of like a new usable mesh, but you'll see we've got like a whole bunch of holes in here. So I guess me using the word useful is not exactly useful. But to fix certain things like this, we can add just like a little bit of inflation, I guess. It says dilate and erode here. But what this is going to do is it's just going to inflate the mesh a little bit just to fill in some of those hole sections. And you'll see that we've got a little bit more of a mesh. So for what I'm doing right now, I want this to look like a little bit of a plush toy, so it's a bit thicker and rounder. And you might have a few different things that you want to do for yours, but the next steps that I do will be kind of more stylistic to what I'm doing, but hopefully you'll learn a few things from these nodes. The next thing that you can do, I'm just going to pull this up here, is there's two ways to smooth mesh. First of all, you've got your smooth mesh node, and then second of all, you've got your delta mush node, which the easiest way I'm going to say this is the smooth mesh will kind of constrain the object a lot more, but it will give you some nice rounder edges, but in kind of a softer way. The other node that I like to use is a delta mush, which has a lot of different use cases, but even for just smoothing mesh, it has a more aggressive smoothing option that doesn't really, it doesn't really worry about your general mesh size. It's just really going to want to contract, might not be the right word, but it really wants to contract your mesh to be a rounder shape. So for me, the delta mush is going to be working a lot better for me because we're going to get like a lot more of a dramatic smooth option here. And just by contrast, I'll show you what the smooth will do. if I bring up the smooth quality, you're going to see that we're just going to get like a softer edge. You can obviously really crazily increase this option to get something that's more direct, but you'll notice that this one kind of goes a lot more harder onto the edges, which is in my case something that I'm going to stick with. So the next thing we want to do is we want to be re-topoing this so that it's a usable mesh. Generally, this is not something that's going to be rigged, but if you want to rig it, you might want to go through and do a proper re-topo, but I'm going to show you some auto re-topo options. Now, the first one that a lot of people use is a quad remesh, which is in beta at the moment. I personally don't like to use this one too much. It can give you some good results, but most of the time I find it can be a little bit funky, but it is in beta. The next one we can do is we can just use like a remesh node. That's not going to give you the best topology, but it is kind of like an out-of-the-box quick fix for whatever you're doing. The next thing that I like to do is a paid node, and it's called it comes part of the labs package, and it's a quad remesher. So if you don't know how to get access to some of these nodes, like if you type in quad remesher right now, if you haven't activated labs, you're not going to see these three options here. But I'll just quickly show you how to do that. So if you open up your side effects Houdini launcher and you go to labs packages, you can then install packages, and you'll have the option to select like the most recent labs build. And then once you've done that, you can restart and you'll have access to this remesher. So I'll just go through and show you some of the examples here that are kind of out of the box. This is a remesher, it's free, and it really doesn't do that terrible of a job. And there's a few different options that you have here that can alter how it kind of remeshes things. So you can go through and have a look at the resolution mode to see if it gives you what you want. This is really not that bad, honestly. It's kind of fine. The remesher itself out of the box, you do need to kind of lower your iteration size to get something, but we're kind of going back to our original problem here where it's not really a usable mesh. But for what you're doing, if you want something that's kind of free, this may be an okay way to go. So you can turn down your target mesh size. But for me, this is not really going to work. And then by contrast, I'm going to have a look at my quad remesher here, just to kind of show you what it is. I think it's about $70 for a whole year. So I find that it's a really useful tool. I use it in almost all of my projects. I'm just going to plug that directly in and just let it have a think. And then you'll see that we get some terrible topology, but we can increase that. First of all, we can turn on adaptive quad count, which will basically increase this number to get a better looking shape. And already out of the box, we're getting a much better looking topology there. So those are your three options for quad remesh. I'm just going to keep this as it is right now, and that's what we'll go off. So that's basically the most easiest way to make a mesh. And then from there, you can be making your UVs, all of that. I won't go into too much of the details. I just wanted to show you how you can really quickly make a mesh from an alpha image. So I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time. Bye.